Please just make sure that you reach out. Okay. Got to know some explanation of what's going on with you, and you'll be counted present, and we don't need to worry about really anything else. So, um, let's get off on what we were going to talk about today. As far as today, I think I gave you a little false advertising on Friday. It had been a while since I had actually created the content for today, and I think I was telling you that I was going to have you guys watching a UPS video. Instead, it was a FedEx video. Okay, yeah, that is important. It's important that well, I mean, really, all of these carriers, UPS, FedEx, DHL, they all have the same type.
Mr. Scheme, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Can anyone else hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Who cannot hear me? Who just said that? Anybody?
I think Casey Summers said he couldn't hear you.
Casey, can you hear me? Let me message him real quick, then we'll keep rolling here. Okay, so let's see. I will make, I guess, this video available for Casey. So even if he does, he'll still get the ability to be tortured. So anyway, yeah, I mean, so all of these overnight package courier companies are very similar in their operations. If you remember taking a look at the video, it talked a lot about how I think they put it that it is the overnight package delivery system in the United States or in the world is what they referred to as a masterpiece of logistics. A masterpiece of logistics, but a masterpiece of logistics that repeats itself every single night. Okay, every single night is rather important because people such as yourself, companies, anybody that wants to ship something overnight, they're not going to just want it on a certain night of the week. They're going to want it all the time, and that's how these companies make their money. Okay, and another thing that they mentioned that was rather important, and that was the fact that it was amazing, yes, but it all occurred while we sleep. Okay. Most overnight customers in the business world are very anxious to get things very early in the morning because the vast majority of the United States works on a typical Monday through Friday, as well as a 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock type of schedule. So they want things to be happening at their places of business during those hours. And if an overnight parcel shipping company can't get it there during those hours, it causes problems, and it probably will cause that business to go to another service provider. Okay. I think that, so, I mean, while the vast majority of the world is working on an 8 to 6 type of schedule, these parcel delivery companies are oftentimes working furiously in the overnight hours. That's the case with FedEx, DHL, and UPS. Now, I don't necessarily talk about the delivery side of those companies. I mean, there are cars, there are trucks, there are tractor trailers that are moving things to customers during the daylight hours, but the actual thing that makes things move throughout the world is occurring at night. A couple things to mention that the video does is that FedEx has more planes than any other airline. Okay, it's rather mind-boggling, but they have more planes than any other airline. Okay, if they were an airline, they would be the biggest as far as having sheer number of planes. DHL, their big selling point to customers is that they serve every country in the world. Every country in the world. And while you and I here in the United States oftentimes think of FedEx and UPS as being the top delivery company, if you had to throw out a name, and if you had to guess on what it would be in the world, you would probably throw out one of those two, and you would probably be pretty close. However, the package delivery company of the world is DHL. They service every country in the world, and I'm talking about tiny countries in the middle of Africa, tiny countries on some island in the South Pacific, tiny countries that are tucked in the far reaches of Eastern Europe. These are all companies, South America, these are all countries that are served by DHL. I do remember when I was working in Mexico for a company, and I remember hearing advertisements on the radio for DHL. I thought to myself, that's interesting that DHL is advertising. I mean, here in the United States, you never see a DHL commercial, but DHL is a very common courier to see in almost any other country outside of Europe and outside of very large countries in Asia and I guess North America. Okay, because once you get outside of these very large centers of population, you really have to invest in being a parcel courier, and DHL has been willing to do that. It is that broad reach that is a huge selling point for them. UPS, on the other hand, their big selling point is that they fly planes to more destinations anywhere else in the world. Okay, not talking just countries, but more destinations. Their big selling point is I can get it to most any place in the world really super quick because we service by air more destinations worldwide. Okay, so when we talk about these parcel companies that this video focuses on, you see that DHL, their largest hub here in the United States, is right next door to us here at Ignite, and that is CVG. Okay, they have spent a tremendous amount of money growing their operation there, and it is there that they are based out of here in the United States. FedEx, the video focuses on almost entirely, is based out of Memphis, Tennessee. UPS is or has their very largest air operations based in Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, pardon me, Louisville, Kentucky, pardon me. UPS Louisville, okay? So the thing about all three of those destinations is they are very centrally located, as the video mentioned, to the population center. Okay, we're not talking the geographical center, but the population center of the United States. The geographical center of the United States is somewhere in the middle of Kansas. Okay, but the population center of the United States is much further to the east. The vast majority of the individuals in the United States are in the eastern half of the United States, and thus these parcel delivery companies are all located rather centrally to that area, and then maybe a little bit west to account for the population that is in the western part of the United States. Okay, you will learn that if you're interested in getting a job and working in a really big city, there are a whole ton of really big cities in the eastern part of the United States. Then, if you are interested in working in a big city in the western part of the United States, your choices go down dramatically. Specifically the far west, I mean, just think about it. They're all hugging the coastline. Yeah, you can throw in Denver if you want. You can throw in Salt Lake City. Maybe you can throw in Phoenix, but the vast majority of them are on the far, far western part of the United States. Okay, so the video talks about FedEx. Okay, FedEx has a very interesting operation. Again, this is the company that has the most planes, more planes than any other airline in the world. Okay, not just the United States, but any airline in the world. And is only behind several very large militaries as far as the vast number of planes that they actually have. Okay, so a couple things to be thinking about in terms of FedEx. They're located out of Memphis, Tennessee, and what they do every single night, all of their locations around the world are flying planes that the video said land between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Okay, now we're talking about planes coming in from Europe, planes coming in from Asia, planes coming in from South America, etc. They are all coming into Memphis, Tennessee between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Okay, so what happens? Obviously, we've talked about the speed at which air freight tries to be moving. That is definitely the case at the FedEx operation in Memphis. They bring in all of these planes and they immediately try to unload them. Okay, unload them. And obviously, if you're thinking about, I guess, planes coming from, let's just say, the plane that comes from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay, you can think of all the people and all of the businesses around the city of Pittsburgh, and you can think of all of the possible places that they may want to be shipping overnight packages. They might want to ship things to Los Angeles, to Seattle, to Boston, to New York, to Germany, to England, to China, to South Africa, to Argentina, all across the world. People from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania are trying to ship things. So what FedEx does is they bring in that plane load of overnight packages to the FedEx terminal in Memphis, Tennessee. And once it touches down, they then route the individual packages to the respective planes that had just come in during that 10 a.m. to, myself and yourself thinking mostly in terms of daylight. We always are thinking in terms of day. Overnight parcel delivery companies are oftentimes thinking of in terms of night. So I'm always thinking 10 a.m. In reality, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'm sure I'll screw it up a couple more times. But one of the things that, just a small city, it is a city, but a smaller city like Pittsburgh, they can have packages going all over the world. And when that plane hits Memphis, Tennessee, there is a mad, furious scramble to push all of those individual packages, all the different directions that are being routed all over the place. Okay, so so just a small place like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania can definitely account for lots of different locations. And this is multiplied by every single large FedEx airport that is bringing in a plane. Some of them, as you heard, are larger ones. Some of them are smaller ones. A place like New York probably pumps out 3 or 4 full airplanes to Memphis, Tennessee every single day. Whereas a place like Oklahoma City, I think they used as an example, may have 1 single plane and it may not even be full, but they still send it to Memphis just the same. Now, that kind of flies in the face of some of the things that we've mentioned previously as far as, gosh, Mr. Skeen, he's talking about wasting fuel, and he's talking about you got to keep the planes moving to pay for themselves. One of the things that this video brought up is the fact that many of these air cargo companies are operating older planes. Okay, they can still fly. They're perfectly safe, but they fly older planes. As opposed to carrying humans, we like to be in aircrafts that are nice and pretty, nice and new, they smell good. Whereas an empty cargo planes like the ones I've shown you, freight, it doesn't care what it smells like in the plane. It doesn't care that it's dark. It doesn't care that the plane is close to 35 years old. All it cares, the freight, is that it is getting to where it needs to go. So FedEx, UPS, and DHL a lot of times are operating older planes. Okay, definitely something to think about. We wouldn't want to be in a really old plane, an old smelly plane that was 35 years old. Because, I mean, heck, 35 years ago, people were still able to smoke on planes. Okay, think about that. Many of you don't even realize that. But 35 years ago, you could still smoke on a plane. Okay, but yeah, so I mean, it's a different ball game, but still just the same. I mean, there are people in logistics trying to make sure that things are getting where they need to go. Okay. It also talks about, so I mean, yeah, this whole all across the world, all descending on Memphis, Tennessee, all of the planes offloaded, all of the packages are sorted, and then they are loaded up into the planes, and every single plane that has come in is gone by 6 a.m. Pardon me, 4 a.m. Okay, so there's really only a very small window of time that they can sort the packages before every single plane that FedEx has at Memphis that has touched down has gone back out. Now, obviously, if it is a very late or if it is a very far away destination, they try to sort the packages that have to go very far away. If Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania touches down and they've got to have something that's going to Asia, it's very important that they get that freight off and sort that freight onto the Asian plane that is going to be heading out, probably much further away than 4 a.m. than most other planes. However, it's the planes that are very close to Memphis, Tennessee, maybe Atlanta, Georgia, maybe Dallas, Texas, that are allowed to actually leave a little bit closer to that 4 a.m. time frame. Okay. So, yeah, that whole, it all comes in and then it all goes out, all by 4 a.m. And that's just so they can arrive at their end destinations and be able to get things out early in the day. Okay, because if you can't get it early in the day, heck, why do I want to use your service? I could go use UPS. I could go use DHL. Okay, the push for ever increasingly efficient and fast service is something that they really strive for day in, day out. They're constantly trying to turn things around even quicker. Okay, so Memphis is the major hub for FedEx. They also talk about something that goes on out in the far west, which was also kind of interesting. I mean, some of you, and myself included, if you watch this video, you think, well, gosh, what happens if I live in Los Angeles, California? Okay, some of you will probably someday end up in Los Angeles, California. You will have never thought that you'd end up in Los Angeles, California, but you will. Okay, I guarantee it. Someone on this call will probably end up working and living in Los Angeles, California, and you want to ship something to Seattle. Okay, does it make sense if you are on the far extreme western part of the continental United States to fly it all the way back to Memphis, Tennessee, and then shoot it all the way up to Seattle? Okay, they have found that it was drastically inefficient from a fuel standpoint, drastically inefficient from a timing standpoint. There's just all sorts of inefficiencies that would come into play. So FedEx and these other carriers have smaller types of hubs that they use for regionalized types of operations. Okay, in the case of the Western United States, FedEx specifically has a smaller operation in Oakland, California, which is very near San Francisco, Northern California. Okay. So they kind of segregate those packages that if they're going to be in the Western United States, they're going to stay in the Western United States. And as a result, instead of going to Memphis, it goes to Oakland, California. Okay. So it's somebody had to dream this up. FedEx had to spend a lot of money and get the operation in Oakland up to speed. But now, because of that money spent and the operation that they've built out there, they are able to offer fast service. I mean, I'll tell you, when I worked out in California, I was able to drop off a next day air package. I worked in Northern California, and I was able to send a next day air package that was staying in the Western United States all the way up until 10 p.m. Okay, I mean, there were certain times where I would have somebody that worked for me drive something to the Oakland airport, and we could drop it off at 10 a.m. and it would get to places in the West very easily by 8:30 in the morning. Sometimes you need to do that as a business. Okay. Another thing that it mentions is the fact that sometimes I might send an overnight package to some little tiny town I mean, the example they used was in Maine, but heck, you could throw it to just about any small place that has an operation, and FedEx at times will use propeller planes. Okay, you think of propeller planes as things that don't really exist anymore, but in certain instances they make a lot of sense. They can be inexpensive. They can serve smaller airports with smaller runways, and it just sometimes makes sense to do that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think that it's a very interesting video in terms of just kind of exposing you to a lot of different things. I think another thing to mention that was somewhat interesting was the fact that FedEx has a very large operation in Anchorage, Alaska. Now, it's said that air freight companies and parcel companies like UPS and DHL all stop in Anchorage, Alaska, but it's primarily just to swap out pilots or to simply refuel the plane. One of the things that comes up when you hear Anchorage mentioned is the fact that you can fly some of these planes 12, 14, 16 hours nonstop, and you never have to touch down. But in order to do that, you have to have fuel on board, which takes away weight that you can put on the airplane as far as packages. So if you are loaded to the gills with fuel, you can't put as much freight on board because all of the weight on your plane is going to be a ton of fuel. So something to think about. And FedEx, they specifically use Anchorage as a place that they stop, they sort packages. They might send some directly to Oakland. They send some to Memphis. They are, I mean, Anchorage, if you noticed, I think on one of the graphics, I mean, the earth is curved, okay? And taking that curve into account, Memphis, Tennessee, via Anchorage, Alaska, all the way to Tokyo is a straight line. Okay, that's kind of hard to think about when you look at certain types of maps. You're saying, no way, you got to fly up north to hit Anchorage, Alaska, and Japan is down south. Well, if you're taking into account the curve of the globe, it's a straight line. Memphis, Tennessee, Anchorage, Alaska, Tokyo, Japan. Okay, straight line. And all of, like I said, all of the parcel delivery companies, UPS, DHL, they all use Anchorage, but nothing is quite as developed as FedEx's operation right there. Okay, so the thing to really be thinking when you turn in terms of overnight package deliveries is the fact that it's very common. UPS and DHL do the exact same thing. They have all of these planes descending on one location for a certain time frame. DHL has the same type of schedule. UPS in Louisville has the same type of schedule. It's probably almost identical, that 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. time frame, and then all of their planes leave by 4 a.m. in the morning just to get those early morning deliveries available. Okay? So that is something that I will probably stop at right there. A couple things that I do want to mention. I would appreciate it if everybody could desperately try to make it in tomorrow on time. We are going to be going through what, let's see what I actually put on the schedule. I put it on as weekly schedule for tomorrow. I had an exciting, oh, no, clicked on the wrong one. Let's see, on the schedule, clicked on the wrong one again. On the schedule, I put, oh Lord, keep clicking on the wrong darn one. On the schedule for Tuesday, I wrote that in class today, it is navigating the NTI and the return to school. Okay, we're going to go over, kind of as I alluded to on Friday, something that is important to me, and it's important to a lot of people here at Ignite, Boone, Kenton counties as well, and really as a state in terms of education, making sure that everybody that is going through this whole NTI process that we are in the middle of is in, I guess, what you would say a good frame of mind. So we're going to go through a brief presentation on Tuesday, and then I'm going to have you fill out a form that will show your attendance. You are required by the state to be involved with this presentation, and we will do this shortly after 8:15 tomorrow, and we're not going to talk a darn bit about logistics. We're just going to spend some time dealing with my exciting navigating the NTI and the return to school, as I put it. Okay, I don't know what the official name is, but I want to just make sure that we cover this and just kind of talk through a couple of things. Okay, so that is on the horizon tomorrow. Everybody that is on, I should also mention to you, you are going to get an opportunity on the 22nd of September to actually physically come in and visit Ignite. I know that today here at Ignite, we have visiting people from various schools that are going to be coming in. Primarily, we are dealing with freshmen. However, you guys being new to the program, we're going to have you guys come in as well. I have heard that many of you have actually seen Ignite. However, we'll give you an opportunity to come in. You'll see skiing face to face. And I think it'll be a good opportunity to kind of just talk through some things generally. So I'm looking forward to that day. As we get closer to that, we'll talk about that much more as we talk about getting to Ignite. There will be bus transportation provided by both Kenton County and Boone County. There will be more information on that that I will provide very early in the week, so you have some time to think about it. So we are talking about Tuesday of next week. Okay, tomorrow is the 15th. And 7 days from that, so Tuesday of next week is when you guys are going to be coming on in. Okay, so that's something to mention. Again, just in general, as far as the assignments that I am giving you here in class. I want to make sure that you are doing those assignments. They are easy points. I want you to do them. You got to do them. There's no reason not to be getting the full credit of points. Now, if you watch them late, I'll still give you full credit for them, but I want to make sure you are watching these things. Now, probably going forward, I'll put something like in the middle of them, because I wouldn't think that some of you might just hit play and then walk away and let the video end. I'll throw in a couple stops to make sure that you're actually watching, but I do want to make sure that that you guys are watching these things. I do spend time trying to put them together, and I just want to make sure that they are a resource that you can use. One of the things that I'm working on right now that I'm going to push out I'm a big fan, and I hope you guys don't groan as soon as I say this, but I am a big fan that if we are doing things electronically and I'm not able to see you face to face, as opposed to Word documents, I am oftentimes trying to give you things via Quizlet, okay? I can easily create things that are in Word documents. Sometimes people like to just stare at things on a single sheet of paper or an electronic sheet of paper. I'm a big fan of utilizing Quizlet, and basically I'll be able to give you all sorts of factoids that I can boil down from things that we talked about last week, things that we're talking about this week, and ultimately you guys are going to get forced to know some of these things for a quiz that will be coming up sometime in the future. I haven't put a date on it, but we will probably chunk the air portion and the ground portion, put those together. There's going to be something coming up this upcoming week where we will talk about some other forms of transportation, basically using water, basically using rail, using some of the other oddball types of forms of transportation. And that'll be a separate set of flashcards. I don't know if I'll chop it up that way, but we will figure out a couple ways to do it. Maybe I'll just have air stuff, and I'll just publish the Quizlet flashcards for that, and then I'll have you take a quiz on that, etc. Okay, so yeah, that's something that I will be publishing here definitely this week, especially if I plan to just utilize air transportation, because after today we're going to stop talking about air. Wednesday we're going to start talking about things that are ground transportation. The overwhelming type of logistical movement of things are ultimately handled by people like you, people like me, whether it's overseeing ground operations or things of that nature. Most all logistical efforts worldwide are taking place on the ground. Okay, so maybe I will actually chop up air and then ground and then oddball stuff, and then we'll have quizzes over those respective things, and then we'll tie it all together, and then we'll have a little bit of a test, and then we'll start digging down into a variety of things. We'll start to have some guest speakers that I've got my first interview with somebody that works in the logistics industry, where we'll start to kind of talk about various roles that people have. And you'll really be able to start to see some of the broad ranges of careers, people that have very unique perspectives on logistics. As I said, I mean, logistics is a big umbrella that covers a whole lot of different people and different career fields, okay? All sorts of variety. And when we do these types of online interviews that I'll tape, I will give them to you for your own personal viewing, and then we will discuss. It's going to be kind of tough for me to do something as far as having a live guest in the era of COVID, probably even thereafter, just so I'm able to be respectful of the times of those individuals. I'm probably not going to force them to come in, although some of them have offered, and I'll definitely be able to do that. Okay. Again, probably post-COVID. Hopefully everything like this will all be behind us during the second semester, and we will be fully normal. We can have guests coming into the building, etc. But at least for now, expect these things to be taped. Okay, so with that being said, on the horizon tomorrow, we've got my PowerPoint presentation on navigating NTI and returning to school. Got that. Totally not really, or not logistic related, but we'll take a break on that, and then we'll move on to ground transportation on Wednesday. Okay. Let's see, Friday, if you take a look at the weekly schedule, you'll see something about a lunch presentation. As opposed to changing all of your guys' schedule and trying to have you guys watch this live, it will not be something that you will watch live. But if you do have questions over it, it's something that I can definitely put you in touch, or we can both be in touch with an entity. And what it is, this lunch program that is going to be happening live on Wednesday. I'm not going to make you watch it live, but basically it is several employers in the area that are logistics related. They come in and talk about various career opportunities within their organizations. Okay. I think that if I remember correctly, there is Amazon, there is DHL, and then there's this other company in here that I'm pretty sure none of you have heard of. It is American Standard Logistics, AmStan. Okay. One of the things that you will find, American Standard, I hate to say it, I think of them, and I have actually dealt with American Standard in the past and their logistics branch, by the way. AmStan is one of many companies, not a many companies, that make toilets. Okay. It's not unusual for companies that are very good in logistics to sell their services to other companies that maybe logistics isn't their number one thing. And American Standard is somebody that a very large company. They are a company, again, they make toilets and other types of bathroom fixtures, but they're very good at what they do. They have to move very large, bulky products, and they offer their services to various companies across the globe to help them figure out how they can do their business more efficiently, leveraging some of the information that American Standard has. Okay, so that's going to be watching that on Friday. I'll tape it on Wednesday. We'll watch it on Friday. And so we've got two different types of things going on this week. We've got something on Tuesday. We've got something on Wednesday. Heck, I might even throw in a professional skill, and we'll just totally throw logistics aside. Who knows? Anyway, as far as all that is concerned, I will say that we are at this point done. Does anyone have any questions, Mr. Skeen, about anything at all that I have mentioned, or something totally off the wall? I have put you to sleep. Okay, so again, I appreciate everybody that has come. And again, it is, oh, Ms. Scott has raised the yellow hand. Yes, Ms. Scott?
Do you know anything about our math teacher?
The math teacher, last I spoke, is being onboarded, and I am told that they are working their notice off, and I foresee them being available possibly mid to late next week. Okay. Anybody else? Again, Jennifer brings up a point as far as just in general math. I made a point in our mentorship meetups that we did to make sure that if you guys need any sort of help until you get that physical teacher, please reach out to me and I will find that I will get you that help. Now, I am going to follow up with, let's let's see, geez, I didn't even fire my email up yet. How did I do that? I forget who the individual was. Was it Brandon? Was that you that was seeking math assistance? Yeah. Did Mr.
Yeah.
Kintrip reach out to you? He did. Are you
He
in
did.
a better place?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got done with that quiz.
Okay. Again, that's not the best way to do it as far as being able to get assistance, but it's all that I can offer. And I would please encourage anybody to let me know if I can try to assist you in any way. Okay. So, anything else from anybody? Okay. Anybody that had their meeting postponed with me that is on right now, if you would be able to stay on, we can talk about some options on when we can meet. Okay. There were a couple of you that my pop meeting that showed up on Friday caused me to cancel. I know I had a couple of reschedules that took care of it, but if there's anybody that I did cancel, would you be able to stay on and we'll talk about that? Okay. Otherwise, I wish everybody the best. And take a look at your Tuesday assignment just to get a little. Actually, no, you have no assignment for tomorrow. You guys just show up. Okay. There is an assignment on Wednesday. If you want to do it, take a look for Wednesday. But otherwise, just show up tomorrow. Okay. Thank you very much. And I wish everyone the best. Good day.